everybody, it's Mr. Wagstaff. Cool stuff to talk about today. So today we're going to talk about some foreign policy. We're going to talk about some president changes. We're going to talk about more messed up foreign policy. Actually, most of our foreign policy today is pretty shady. America looking out for our own interest, which is fine. But sometimes we do so at the expense of other people. All right. The first one we're going to talk about today, though, is actually called the open door policy with China. This is one that makes America look pretty good. We look back on it and we're like, man, good job, America. Way to do the right thing. But not surprisingly, even when we do the right thing, we ain't doing it for the right reasons. So while we do something that historically people look at and it's like, hey, this is America made the right decision. We're going to talk about why America didn't make the right decision because it was the right thing to do. We made the right decision because it was the best thing for us to do. So let's get started and talk about that one here to begin today's lesson. All right. So the open door policy with China. All right. So let me get a map here for you. You would be surprised at how hard it is to get a map that has the Pacific Ocean in the middle. That took me longer than you would think. So I might blow your minds here for a second. All right, so stay with me. I don't know if I need a thinking cap or not, but the Earth is round. It's round. So when you flatten it out, where do you make the center? And usually it's the Atlantic Ocean because that's how America does stuff. And even though 60% of the population lives here, we like to make ourselves literally the center of the earth when we make maps. Anywho, so this here is America. This here is China. So little refresher from yesterday. After the Spanish-American War, America now owns this group of islands right here called the Philippines. The Philippines, we want it for a military base. The reason we want it for a military base is basically to intimidate China into giving us preferred trade. You know, be like, hey, give us good prices or else. We also learn, and this is important for future units, the Philippines has a ton of oil. As the world gets more dependent on oil with military and cars come out and things like that, America does pretty well because we own the Philippines and the Philippines has a bunch of oil. Should also go ahead and point out, unlike places like Hawaii, which is here, when we take them over and they begrudgingly like, I guess we'll do it, you know, and they're not happy that we're there, but they kind of deal with it. That's not how the Philippines works at all. The Philippines here aggressively do not want America there, does not want anybody to control them. So it's never a real pleasant experience us owning the Philippines because the Filipino people, not a fan of us being there. So, right here is China. All right. Now, looking at this map, you're like, it's hard for me to be like, huge population here in China. You're like, well, that's kind of surprising because it's not that big of a country. There's about 3 times as many people live here as live in America. In America, roughly by 2000 standards, it's easier numbers. About 300 million people live here. 1 billion people live here. Today, it's more than both of that. This here is Russia. However, really the Arctic Circle is like here. It's really hard to live up here. So Russia, while it has a ton of land and is the largest country on Earth, not a lot of people there. Anywho, so China has a ton of people. It is extremely highly populated, even though all this area over here is really countryside. There's a lot of country still in China. But, so China, highly populated, a lot of natural resources. America's in on this imperialism game where we've already taken over Cuba, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, Guam, randomly out here somewhere. The Philippines, we've taken over Alaska. So America's all into imperialism. Just means taking over smaller countries and owning them and taking all their stuff. Europe has been doing that as well. So like France has taken over what's Vietnam. I could just go through and circle all day of all the stuff that the countries have taken over. Everybody is kind of circling China like a shark at a big old fish because China doesn't have the same military might any of these countries do, but it's huge with a massive population. So the countries of Europe are like, how are we going to do this? As they start staring it down, China's kind of oblivious to this, all right? Because it's hard to just invade a country with 1 billion people and take it over without having massive bloodshed. And the whole concept of imperialism is it's supposed to be easy. So here's what to do. All the countries in Europe get together. And they're going to have a secret meeting. Now, America, we're kind of friendless at this time. Up to this point. But after the Spanish-American War, and we can prove we're a military powerhouse, and we have a really powerful Navy, for the first time, America gets invited to the cool kids table. And they're like, hey, America, come on over here. So America's like, ooh, okay. And so America meets with all these European nations right here. All right, so you got America and the European nations. And what they're going to discuss is how to take over China. Now, here's our representative, all right, because he gets a lot of credit for this in history. This is John Hay. You think I'd get an actual photograph of him because there's tons of them, but I didn't. Because I'm a bad teacher. I don't know why I didn't do that. Maybe this will help you remember better. So John Hay is Secretary of State at the time. John Hay is the representative for America at this meeting. So all Europe gets together and they're going to have a secret meeting. And America's here. And we're like, okay, what are we talking about? And they're like, so we need to take over China. But China's really big. Here's what we should do. All of us get together and we all attack China at the same time. And we cut China into pieces. And each one of us owns a different piece of China. The reason that's good is because we don't know one of us has to try to take over the entire massive country. So we're just going to section it off and each of us owns a different section. So everybody's like, yeah, let's do this. America's over here and John Hay, and he's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. So America, man, we're a massive jerk here to Europe. All right. So we don't really want to cut up China. So here's a little cartoon. This is supposed to represent all the European nations, and they're going to cut up China. And so this is especially strong America here in the middle. America, so this is trade treaty with China. Because we own the Philippines and we've been able to intimidate China into giving us good prices, if England owns a part of China, say we're buying coal from this part of China and we get a really good deal on it. If England takes over that part of China, guess who we buy coal from? We'd be buying it from England, who would charge us more because they're not intimidated by our Navy. All right? Same thing with France, any of these, or Germany, any of these other countries that are imperialistic. If they take over parts of China, anything they take over is just going to be a price increase for America. Even if America gets like one section of China and we get everything from there for free, it doesn't level out all the price increases from all the other sections. So America's like, so right, yeah, but we have to be real secret about it. This is what the other countries are saying. We have to be real secret about it because we don't want China to know. It's like sneaking up on an elephant. It's kind of the logic here. Like, you got to sneak up on it. Otherwise, there's no way to take it. And we're like, and America's like, oh, okay. And John Hay stands at the... Keep in mind, this is the first time we've been invited to the cool kids table. And we're like, hey, world, they're trying to take over China. Like, we just blow up their spot. Like, we go public. We're like, yes, so you guys are trying to take over China. Not cool, guys. Y'all shouldn't try to take over China. And China's like, wait, what's happening? And we're like, yeah, China, can you imagine it? You know what? And Europe immediately pretends like they're like, oh, we were never going to take, what are you talking, America, this didn't happen. Like, so America's not real good at making friends. We're not, because we clearly did not make any friends here. And we're like, what? We would never take over China. And we're like, hey, since y'all were saying that when it was already been brought up, how about we sign an agreement between all the countries that nobody gets to take over China. This benefits America because we already have favorable trade with them because we've been intimidating them. And the rest of the countries, when being put on the spot at the world stage, is like, fine, America, we'll sign it. So we signed this document called the Open Door Policy with China, in which everybody agrees nobody's allowed to take over China and everybody gets to equally trade with China. All right. Everybody walks away pretty irritated at America for like ruining this whole thing for them. This is kind of another cartoon of it, is the idea that America holds the key to China. So the idea, and it's worth mentioning here, the idea here is that China, everybody gets to work equally in China. So what happens is after the open door policy, everybody's like, fine. So there's a whole bunch of foreign businesses that go into China and open up shop in China. China, now, America's not the only one that's racist and nativist and stuff like that and really hates immigrants, all right? America's not the only one. China's the same way. China has an entire rebellion. They start seeing too much Western influence, European influence, American influence in their culture, and they actually, it's like a little mini war that takes place called the Boxer Rebellion, where that has nothing to do with box, it's just a area. Anyway, they attack and like aggressively drive out foreign influence and businesses from China they want China to rule China. And that's a very quick response to this. And this is another cartoon. This is supposed to be China forcing this foreign influence out the exit here. And the joke is, this is their open door policy, the exit door. Y'all can leave. We learn, the rest of the world learns very quickly after this that yes, China will trade with everybody, but you're going to do it on their terms, because China, with their massive population, is not a big fan of people coming in and messing at all with their culture. So the open door policy, from this point on, we trade very heavily with China because we do have our Navy over there to intimidate them a little bit. All right. So moving on to the 1900 election, this is pretty cool. So in 1896, this guy, William McKinley, won because the robber barons, Rockefeller and Carnegie, decided this is the guy who should be president. And they basically wrote him a blank check to let him be the president. All right. He is the one who is going to defeat William Jennings Bryan and the progressives. So in 1900, he's going to run for president again. He has the ability to do that. But there's a problem. There's a new guy that's super crazy famous now. Teddy Roosevelt. The hero from the War of 1812. The man who like charged San Juan Hill and without a horse and like single-handedly defeated the Spanish military. This real go-getter, outdoorsy guy. Everybody loves Theodore Roosevelt. So right after he won this war, he gets back into politics for like a year. He becomes the governor of New York. He's very progressive. Means he attacks monopolies. He does a lot of things that's bettering for the people. Rockefeller and Carnegie see this little glimpse into who this guy is as a politician, and they're like, oh my gosh. Like, Rockefeller and Carnegie can't control Roosevelt. Roosevelt's going to do whatever Roosevelt wants to do. And that's just how Roosevelt's going to be. The biggest fear in their lives is this man runs for president. And he is so popular, he will win. So Rockefeller and Carnegie are like, all right, how do we keep this guy from becoming president? Because not only do we not control him, he doesn't like monopolies. He could literally come after us. So they get together and they figure out a way to keep Roosevelt from ever becoming the president. Make him the vice president. They go to McKinley and like, hey, you're running for re-election, pick Roosevelt as your vice president. And they're like, what? Is he even a Republican? And they're like, he'll be whatever. Like, who cares? Like, yeah, he may not be like a Republican type guy, but he'll say he's a Republican. Let him be the vice president, because the vice president has like no power. So he's like, okay. So in 1900, this is McKinley. He's running for president. This is Theodore Roosevelt as his vice president. Again, McKinley and Theodore Roosevelt. McKinley was the president in a war that we won. All right. Then his vice president is the war hero from that. He wins convincingly. So in 1900, he becomes the president. Roosevelt's the vice president who basically doesn't do anything. All right. So Rockefeller and Carnegie are like, good. Taking care of that. We don't have to worry about this guy coming and messing with our business. Well, a crazy story happens shortly after McKinley starts his second term. In 1901, there is a World's Fair in Buffalo, New York. So this is 1 year into a second term. So every year, I don't know if it's every year, every few years, there's like a World's Fair. Basically, all the new inventions come out and get shown, and they pick a different city. Like the Eiffel Tower was showing the glory of the Henry Bessemer's Bessemer process, how easy it is to make a steel structure. They built the Eiffel Tower just for this fair in Paris the year they had it there, and it's just remained. So the World's Fair is huge around the world, and all the top people from all over the world come around to see it. It just happens in 1901 to be held in New York, Buffalo, New York. Not New York City, but another city in New York called Buffalo. And this is a picture of it. Again, the lighting, the AC/DC current controversies heating up at the time. And so the outdoor, this was just baffling to people. I mean, people had seen light bulbs, but when you can light up outside to make it look like daytime was just crazy. So obviously, when this huge international event happens, the president's going to go. So William McKinley goes up to the World's Fair. When the president shows up, people want to show up and meet him. It's like a big event. So he goes and he stands in line and lets a whole bunch of people come by and shake his hand. All right. There's this crazy dude named Leon. All right. Kosgoy, or I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. I'm going to go out Leon. Leon, he has different political views than McKinley. Basically, he's an anarchist. He thinks there shouldn't be a government, and he thinks that McKinley is crazy corrupt. All right. So what he does is, as you go through people check you, make sure you don't have any weapons or anything, but this guy is going to try to murder William McKinley. So as they go through the receiving line, basically the line to shake his hands, they come by, check, make sure you don't have any weapons on you. Well, Leon, he has a pistol in his hand, but he has it bandaged up like he has a broken hand. So he goes right through the line, comes right up to the president, and shoots the president in the gut with a pistol. All right. This is the mugshot of Leon. Try to pronounce his last name. Leon here shoots President McKinley. All right. They immediately take Leon and they drag him away. Leon is eventually executed in the electric chair. So electricity, hey, World's Fair, and we're going to murder you with it. So, but what happens is McKinley is rushed to the hospital. There were no doctors around, which is this is the World's Fair and there's no doctors there. And so they bring in the closest thing they have to a doctor to do a major abdominal surgery. There's no surgeon around, so the only doctor they could get was a gynecologist, which is a lady part, or lady part doctor. This is the nicest way of saying it. They also deliver babies and do all types of stuff. I'm not downplaying gynecologists as legit doctors, but if you need to have emergency abdominal surgery, you might want a doctor that's more experienced in that. But granted, I mean, I say that. They do deliver babies, C-sections and stuff. It's probably not that crazy of an idea. It's really probably not. But they did not have a surgeon. And they're not able to find the bullet, and McKinley dies. All right. Crazy enough, there's a new invention that was at the World's Fair they didn't think about using that could have saved his life. The X-ray machine. They could have used the X-ray machine, find out where that bullet is, and get it out, and would have saved his life. Because not getting that bullet out is what killed him. But they didn't use it because they didn't think about it. And William McKinley dies. Well, immediately after he dies, people aren't even that upset. Like, the newspapers are shocked. Oh my gosh, the president's been killed. You know who gets to be the president? Roosevelt. So, literally in the same headline, McKinley, oh, he dies. Theodore Roosevelt takes the oath. Theodore Roosevelt comes to power. This is a picture of Teddy Roosevelt. All right. He comes to power. This is the Rockefeller's biggest nightmare. And rightfully so. When he comes in, yes, he's technically a Republican. He had to be a Republican to run on the Republican ticket. He ain't anybody's political party. Roosevelt's going to do what Roosevelt wants to do, when he wants to do it, and how he wants to do it. This man, very powerful personality. He doesn't drink any alcohol, but he drinks 2 gallons of coffee a day. Dude is hyped all the time. Impossibly energetic. He comes in with his own way of doing things, and the American people love him, so he basically has this huge mandate. His saying is, speak softly and carry a big stick, you'll go far. Basically, don't go looking for problems, but if problems arise, be able to deal with them. There's a ton of accomplishments that Roosevelt has. really what's interesting is that he's the first one to really deal with conservation. We look back on this and we're like, man, that guy's kind of ahead of his time on the conservation front. Like, he loved hunting and wilderness and all this other stuff, but he's also the guy who said, hey, we should have clean water. We should create the Pure Food and Drug Act. We should, a lot of these progressive ideas. He sets aside a lot of land, like the Grand Canyon was going to get filled in and destroyed to be able to build something on it. And he was like, nah, let's make that a national park. He creates the entire National Park Service. Things that we're very glad looking back on that somebody had the thought at the time, be like, that's cool. Let's not destroy it. There's plenty of other places to destroy. Let's not do these really fancy things. So like wildlife sanctuaries, he does a lot of cool stuff that for a man who loves hunting and killing things, you wouldn't think, but wildlife sanctuaries and hunting actually go kind of hand in hand. One of the most impressive things that he does is creates the Great White Fleet. This is the Great White Fleet. We already had the biggest navy the world's ever seen, and he turns around and doubles the size of it. All right, and it's all painted white. It's called the Great White Fleet. All right. Basically, whoever has the biggest navy on Earth is the most powerful country on Earth, militarily. That's how it worked at the time. Well, guess who has the biggest navy on Earth? America. We are legit, all right? So, a lot of the people in Congress don't want to do what Roosevelt wants to do. But if they say no to him, the public gets mad at them because everybody loves Roosevelt. He's like a man without a political party. He just does whatever he wants to do. Sometimes he does Republican stuff. Sometimes he does Democrat stuff. Sometimes he does stuff that nobody else even thought about. So Roosevelt just does his own thing. And because the American people love him so much for being a war hero, they go with it. So Congress begrudgingly gave him the money to build this massive fleet. Then you know what he wants to do with it? Sell it around the world. He wants to take it to every single country and dock it at their port and let little kids come out and play on it. Everybody run around like, this is your massive military weapon, but he wants to go show it off. You know why he wants to do that? It's this whole concept of speak softly and carry a big stick. He wants to go be friendly with these countries by showing them our new weapons, while also showing them our new weapons. So if they try to bow up to us or get squirrely, it's kind of an intimidation factor. Same way we're dealing with China is intimidate them, but do it from a friendly perspective. All right? This whole walk softly and carry a big stick. The amount of money it takes to sell your navy around the world, astronomical. Congress is like, we're not going to give you that money. He said, what now? He said, yeah. You only have half the amount of money you need right now to sell it around the world, and we're not going to give you more. So don't do that. That's dumb. We let you build the Navy. You can't sell it around the world. You know what Roosevelt does? Sells it around the world. So the red line here, he starts out here and sells it all the way around the world. Now, he knows he's only got enough money to get that Navy halfway around the world. And he says, you know what's going to happen when we run out of money and that Navy's halfway around the world? Bet you Congress is going to give me the money to bring it back. And sure enough, that's exactly what it does. When it's halfway, oh, you're just going to give up on it, just leave it over there? Bet you won't. So his hardball tactics are very effective at making America a powerful country. The progressive stuff helping out the poor people, make America a powerful country. Roosevelt's a very popular guy. Now, on this little trip that he has, he realizes there's a problem. If we get attacked here on the East Coast, in order to defend, because we have half our Navy here in Cuba and the other half, well, it's over here in the Philippines. But in order to get from Cuba over here to the West Coast, you have to go all the way around South America. But he's like, hey, look at this here. A little skinny country right here. What's that country called? And they're like, it's called Panama. And he's like, how about we build a little canal through Panama and then we can just cut through. Roosevelt's the guy that's motivated enough to try to do this thing. So they're going to try to build this thing called the Panama Canal. The thing is the country of Panama is its own country. All right. So let me back up here. I want to show you this map. So right here, this little country right here. I can't really zoom in on it. That country, if you zoomed in on it, looks like this. All right. I'll move myself over here. It connects basically Central America, which is the countries below Mexico, and South America. Tiny little country. And there's a real narrow part right here. There's like some lakes and stuff. real narrow part right here. So it says Panama Canal because it's a modern picture. That doesn't exist. So Roosevelt or his representatives head down to Panama and say, hey, Panama, got a suggestion for you. How about you guys let us build a canal in your... And Panama stops and is like, hey, stop. Look, I appreciate the pitch and all. We're not actually a free country. We're actually owned by the country below us, Colombia. You're going to have to talk to them because we just try to get along with everybody. Like, so Colombia owns us, you got to talk to Colombia. So Roosevelt's administration's like, fine, we'll go down and we'll talk here to Colombia. So we'll zoom out a little bit. All right. So right here is that last picture of Panama is. This is Colombia. All right. And you got America up here, Central America, Mexico, Central America here, Panama, and then Colombia. So we go to Colombia. And then here's the deal we make Colombia. Hey, Colombia, here's what we're going to do. All right. We're going to give you guys $40 million. Then we, America, we're going to go over here to Panama and we're going to build this canal. Once we build the canal, you guys can own it. You can tax anybody you want going back and forth through it, except for America. We just get free passage. We cool? All right, well, here's your money. We're going to head on that. And Colombia's like, no, we want more money. And we're like, wait, what? What? And they're like, yeah, the amount of money you just offered us, not enough. And we're like, all right, well, how much do you want? And they're like, you know what? We actually don't even want, well, we don't want any money from you. So, see, America has been a real jerk for a long time to South America. The whole Monroe Doctrine, don't let other European countries come over here. We've basically had a monopoly ourselves on treating South America bad and forcing them to give us favorable trade practices that they don't like a lot of times. So this is the first time we need something from them. And they're like, no. Now, Roosevelt, not a big fan of people saying no to him. He's like, oh, no. No. My. So he's down here in Colombia. We march right back. I keep saying Roosevelt because his administration, he's not personally here. But Roosevelt goes back up here to Panama. All right. And he says, hey, Panama, I just talked to Colombia. Those guys are jerks. And Panama's like, oh, and they're like, don't you want to be free and an independent nation? And they're like, I don't really know what's going on. They're like, sure you do. Why don't you declare your independence from Colombia, and then me and you can do business? And Panama's like, I don't. First off, we don't even have any weapons. How could we even fight? And we're like, oh, you don't have any weapons like these? And we just give them a whole bunch of weapons. We're like those weapons? And Panama's like, but maybe we want to be free. But if we fight, like, what if we lose? We're like, you're not going to lose. Don't worry. When this battle, and it's going to be over quick, when it starts, we're going to put our Navy on both sides of Panama to make sure it goes your way. And Panama's like, okay. Panama probably doesn't really want to do this, but we're kind of forcing them to declare their independence because Colombia won't work with us. And that's exactly what happened. Panama takes up their guns to attack Colombia, and Colombia's like, what is Panama doing? And they see America just sitting down here like, yes, y'all fight to the death. The battle doesn't take real long because Colombia sees what is happening. And so Panama, after a war, becomes their independent country. And Panama, who really just wanted to be left alone, then America goes to Panama and says, hey, congratulations on being your own individual country. Here's what we want you to do. We're going to give you $10 million. You're going to build us a canal. We're going to be back in a couple years, and it better be done or there's going to be bad things happen. So congratulations on being an independent country. Yeah, good job, America. That's us. We did that for you. So now you're going to build us a canal. And then once you're done with your canal, we're going to own it. All right? Panama is terrified. Panama's like a people pleaser, right? Panama's like, oh. So they are terrified what would happen if America comes back and this canal is not completed. I got a couple cartoons here and some graphs. This is supposed to be Panama. This is a Roosevelt coming down here with guns and weapons, and you can see he's attacking Colombia out here in the distance. So America literally just went and heavy-handedly changed the whole political structure just because we wanted this canal. Like, because we wanted this little man-made river we will just completely destroy the current structure of other countries for our own personal benefit and not think twice about it. So here is the graph of what Panama has to do. All right. So this is Panama, the narrowest point. You can tell that there are these lakes here, so a lot of this you don't have to build canals through. But if you look at the bottom here, and I'm not going to get through a whole lot of science, you actually have to raise the water level in order to get through. And there's actually mountains that you have to cut through. It is an extremely difficult thing to do to build this canal and get ships to make it through. Here's a photograph early on of them building it. It's like, this is in the early 1900s. I mean, they don't have, I bet if you look here close enough, you can find horses and wagons somewhere. So they're building these things. So these gates open up and control water and all this other stuff. So this is in the middle of it building. Panama does build it. Tons of people die. And then America owns it. So we pass through it all the time. Anybody else that goes through has to pay America taxes. So America literally owns the Panama Canal, all right, up until like the 1990s. Right? In the 1990s, we realized it's kind of a jerk move. So I got a picture here. I believe this is in the 1970s, probably Vietnam era of them cutting through the canal. So it's not just like one canal. You can kind of tell from this map here that there's like different places where there has to be canals. I got a modern picture of it. This is, here, let me move myself over here. This is a modern picture of the canal, of these big, massive ships that can make it through. And you can see the water levels different here. Crazy how it works and the science behind it. We did in like the 90s, like, oh, Panama. Yeah, we realized that was kind of a jerk move how we did everything. So y'all can have the Panama Canal to tax however you want. Just don't tax us. So we don't own the Panama Canal anymore, but that's only a recent occurrence that has happened. So let me show you how important the Panama Canal is. So instead of, if you want to get from one side of America to the other, instead of using the red line going all the way around, you can just cut through Panama. This is also extremely important because our Navy is stationed at 2 different places on Earth at the time. All right. It is in the Philippines, and it is in Cuba. It used to be you had to go all the way around, I don't know, we'll pretend like that's a real thing, and then go over here. All the way around South America. You don't have to do that anymore. Now, you can just cut right through Panama, and you can connect our 2 navies. The Panama Canal makes it, basically shortens the distance between our 2 navies, makes us much more powerful because instead of always having our navies in half, we can join them together if we want. Hey, if it meant we had to destroy other countries' entire fabric of society to do it, we're America. We're better than them. That's the logic. So that's as far as we're going to get today. I will see you guys tomorrow.